The Dane and Derek Show is an uncensored, unfiltered podcast. Content warnings can be found in the episode description. Hello, and welcome to the Dane and Derek Show, a podcast where two nerdy friends attempt to keep in touch and shoot the shit. I'm Benig-Aiello, a writer, director, and occasional D&D player, and with me as always is my buddy, Dane Fogdall.
Hey, I'm Dane, a writer, musician, podcaster, and lover of tabletop RPGs. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's been a minute since we've recorded, and last time we talked was in person.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to go to a bar on guys' night.
Yeah, that's right. The bar we went to, they were having like a guys' night for which I don't know why it struck me. It's so funny. I guess I've never had a marketing thing like that.
No,
Like
yeah,
like
same.
I've never come across that. It was really funny.
Yeah.
To be clear, we were outside, social distance from every other table. We were not actually at a bar. It has been many months since I was physically sitting at a bar.
Yeah.
But you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. So the icebreaker for today is really simple. One word to describe last night's presidential debate.
Fuck, fuck, fuck. That's my word. Okay, what about you? Because I could go off on this shit.
Fuck. I feel like that's an easy one to agree on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't watch it last night. I watched it this morning. I was in kind of a place last night where I was just like, I can't. Like the same words are going to be said tomorrow morning as they were right now, so I can watch them then. There was the I cried, is what I'll just say. I cried. It was so demoralizing and sad. Um, because for me, on the one hand, I like following politics, and I have strong opinions about politics. I do. But the reason I do is because I'm a believer in democracy, like genuinely. I know that sounds really silly and on some level, but genuinely I love democracy. I love the idea that we collectively decide what's best for ourselves. And it's messy and it sucks and it's the worst system of government unless you count all the other systems we've ever come up with, right? So to see our democracy dragged through the mud like that was so sad. But the thing that got me the most was Biden talking about his sons, about Beau Biden, who served our country, and Hunter Biden, who struggled with addiction and has, by all accounts, come through it quite well. And for Trump to, for him to take that and try and hurt someone over it, to try and to sully a man for his sons, both of whom battled disease, one who he lost. The one he lost served our country and defended us. I don't, I don't, this isn't a political statement. I don't think. It's horrible. I don't care what you believe about taxes or how healthcare should be administered to people. One of those men tries to do right. I don't think he always succeeds. And one of those men is genuinely an evil person. he's still a human being. I don't wish him any harm or anything. I'm not a person who prays, but if I was, I would pray for him and his soul and hope that he can find it in his heart to change, to be better, to something. And I firmly believe that even a man like that has the capacity for good somewhere. But all I watched was a hate on one side of the stage. That's all I could see.
Yeah, man. I think the way you put it definitely sums up
Yeah.
how rough last night was for a lot of people
Yeah.
watching.
And that was one moment, right? Like,
Yeah.
just one moment.
In a series of moments that were hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say Biden when he said what was it? Like he just said something like, "Oh, shut up, man." Like
Yeah.
I know that politically speaking that wasn't the best thing to do and like decorum and all that, but I was like, "Yeah, please somebody tell him to stop talking." Like, oh my god. That was such a tame way of saying what I've been feeling for 4 years. Just
hmm
shut the fuck up. Like, oh my god. Like ugh.
Yeah. Mm. It
Yeah.
shows that Biden's got bite, and that's a good thing, I think. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now that we've gotten that off our chest.
Which I appreciate, honestly. Genuinely, I appreciate. That was therapeutic.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. Uh, how have you been, and what have you been
Uh,
up to?
uh, well, because of bureaucracy, this week I had to get back to back COVID tests on Monday and Tuesday. Um, be,
Damn.
yeah, because Gracie went to Wisconsin to help our friend, and for numerous reasons, they had to go out there. They were in kind of the heart of the country where like people don't always wear masks, so it was a little risky. When they came back, we all kind of decided, okay, everybody just go get tested. And then my job just came out with a policy. It's like you have to come into campus if you're going to work on campus. You got to come in. You got to get a test. And I was like, oh, okay, shit. Like, and I was like, can I bring mine? Like, I just got one, and they're like, no, we need yours, and or we need ours. You need to come do it with us. And I was like,
Uh,
fine, like whatever. If this is what it's got to be, this is what it's got to be. I mean, and I was like, this is so much fun. Um, so a lot of COVID tests, waiting on some results. Um,
same.
but
Same.
that aside, been kind of just catching up. Like I've done a lot of writing this week, which has been awesome. Like really catching up on writing that I put aside for a while. Just because it's so long form. I finally figured out what writing a piece as long as what I'm writing right now, which is novel length, what it feels like. It feels like emptying a swimming pool with a teaspoon. It
Oh,
it absolutely can
wow.
be done. It even could be meditative. It's not hard, even necessarily in like a moment to moment way, but it's like you can only do so much at a time. It takes forever, and it's yeah. But we're getting down to the bottom, scraping down towards the bottom. But yeah, but what about you? What you been up to? I've talked a lot this episode already.
All good, man. I honestly have been a mix of tired. I've been very tired this past week since I got back from Colorado. I basically got back and immediately hopped back into work. I've been sort of thrust into a situation where I'm taking on a lot of really awesome responsibilities and I'm starting to get where I want to be at the company.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a lot of work and a lot of meetings and a lot of catching up with people to figure out what I need to do in the next 10 to 20 days to ensure that they have live shows ready to go be broadcasted.
Whoa.
So
Nice.
that's been my job these past few days. And uh, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but my one saving grace has been Breath of the Wild that I have fully invested myself into. And
Worth it.
yeah, when I'm not working, I'm literally playing Breath of the Wild. And
I
so it's like the
don't blame
exact
you.
opposite of yeah. So it's like the exact opposite of being like creative after work. Instead, it's just like I need to decompress from the world, which I
Okay.
think is
Wait.
good.
Before you go on though,
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you on that point about it not being creative. One,
Hmm.
I think video games are an expressive medium. There is some creativity involved. I would wager that you play Breath of the Wild differently than I do, and differently than my girlfriend Gracie does. Gracie's very sneaky. She stealths her way through most problems and only fights what she absolutely has to. I approach it like Dark Souls. Give me a stick, I will beat that lion man. Uh
Yeah, no, that's a you know that is a fair point about the game. I think that's been my favorite part about it is that it incentivizes you to play. It doesn't incentivize you to do any sort of one there's no one way to play the game.
mm-mm.
Like I noticed it doesn't incentivize killing, which I think
No.
is great, and it incentivizes you to be vegetarian. That I think is like the biggest incentive is it encourages you to pick plants.
Yeah. Second thing though, uh a thing I think about with creativity all the time is that to me creativity is like breathing. It's when you make something, you're exhaling, but you can't exhale forever. You
Mm,
have to breathe in. And the breathing in this metaphor is taking in other people's work or taking in experiences of life. Uh, like something I often think is I don't think I'm ever not writing in a sense.
mhm.
Uh, like our good friend Robert, and I think I may have even brought this up at guys' night. Uh, what was this? Like it was like a year and a half ago. He and I are out at a different bar down in Boulder, and he's talking about an internship that he went to. Vaguely, it was about creating ceramics to go on spacecraft because ceramic can take a lot of heat.
Right, I remember that. You did bring it up.
Yeah, and I was like, "That sounds awesome." And he's like, "It's super strong ceramic." What he meant was it could take a lot of heat and could do certain things. What I heard is like, so giant robot armor could be made out of ceramic. So you could have giant mechs that are glazed like beautiful pots, huh? And now that's like a big thing in my podcast right now. Um, so or like a month ago, I was out on a hike with a different friend, and he's a brewer. He brews beer, and so he knows all these esoteric laws from like the Middle Ages about making beer that like are why Belgian beer is so different from German beer.
Mhm.
Like literal law, like it was written on law books. You could go to prison if you were did different weird beer stuff. And I think about that, I'm like, I don't know if that's important to me, but now I have that. And like
Mhm.
you playing Breath of the Wild is going to come out in your art. It just is. You're breathing it in right now. Some part of it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I don't think you're going home and not being like you're not being lazy. You're not doing something. You're engaging with the world and other people's ideas and art and and feelings, and you're breathing in, and sooner or later you're going to breathe out. You just filmed a whole short that you've been working on for some time.
Yeah.
You got to breathe in now. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
That is very fair. That is, putting it in that context makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate the wisdom you've dropped on this episode.
I'm feeling preachy. I got my soapbox out. I'm feeling tall.
That's a good thing. I think we need more of that Dane Fogdall every now and then.
Well, other people might have other opinions. What were we talking about? Video games or something?
Video games, yeah, video games,
Mm,
Breath of the Wild specifically, which brings me to our next topic, which is the top 3 video games you've played this year, and one game that you think, or that you think, or I think the other needs to play.
okay.
And definitely one of my top 3 games is Breath of the Wild,
Mm,
100%.
nice. Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that twice through. Yeah,
Oh
twice
man.
through.
I thought I was gonna have to start over because I thought I screwed up so badly, and
No,
then I got like 8 more hours in, and I was like, "Oh, I've barely scratched the surface of this game. Leaving the Great Plateau is not even anywhere near where I need to be in the game to
no,
achieve any sort of final boss fight." So
nope.
I was like, "Okay, I got plenty of time to correct my mistakes."
Yeah, wait, what did you do that you felt like was a mistake?
I invested in hearts instead of stamina early
Oh,
on.
funny. I never invested in stamina once. In either
Really?
playthrough. No.
Wow.
Remember when I said I played it like Dark Souls?
Fair, 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 fair. I just like gliding.
Oh, well, sure, fair.
Yeah, I like gliding, and I like sprinting. I like running away from things. I run away from a lot of things.
Nope, I
Um,
faced that shit head on.
I think the way I would describe my Link is that he's a very eclectic Link that likes junk and likes to take it easy. I suppose. I I very much avoid combat at all cost.
No, no. Thrill Seeker. Well, Combat Seeker.
Yeah. That said, the last 4 shrines I've done have all been combat tests, and that's been a great learning curve for me because I keep forgetting that there's certain abilities and skills you can do, like dodging, like jumping left, jumping right, backflipping, blocking
Mm-hmm.
things. I keep forgetting that I can do that in combat, and that's such an integral part of the gameplay and survival that sooner or later I'm gonna have to fight Ganon, so I better get good at fighting.
Yep, you do have 5 bosses. Well, you
Yeah.
don't even have to do the 4 of them, to be fair.
Hmm. Right.
But
Yeah, I've heard that you don't have to do any of it. You can just go right to Hyrule Castle. But knowing me, I'm gonna do
those
them all
people are
because,
cray.
yeah, that's the other thing is like I'm really invested in the story, and
It's sweet.
yeah,
It's really cool. I like it a lot.
yeah, I've never been able to play a Legend of Zelda game. This is my first true experience playing a Legend of Zelda game.
So I'm gonna sound like such an asshole. The only other one I've played is the original.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you're a real OG.
Yeah, no, it's just my uncle was a fan, so I
Mm,
picked it up. It's actually it seems sometimes to me that the first one in this and Breath of the Wild are the most similar. They're just kind of like the most open and free in a sense.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Um, what video games have you played this year?
Oh, we're going back and forth. Okay. All right then.
Yeah.
You're going to be really pleased about this.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Age 2.
Oh, Dragon Age 2 is great. It's a lot of people hate that game, but it's definitely my one of my favorites in the trilogy.
Okay. So here's the thing I really like about Dragon Age 2. Uh I have played Inquisition a couple of times. I have not touched one yet. Not in a real way. I've only played a little bit and I was just like I don't like this. Dragon Age 2, the setting and scope is the coolest to me. I
Hmm.
fucking love that it just takes place in one city and kind of the surrounding area. I fucking love that.
Yeah.
It's like self-contained and it's easy to understand. Like Inquisition's cool, but it's so grand. Like it's like and the world is being saved again. But no, like in Dragon Age 2 it's like Nope. It's just this one city, and it's kind of really personal, and everybody's a fuck up in like a really, really big way. And I kind of adore that. Like, I really like how kind of quirky it is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think the combat's the best of all three. Just gonna
I
say it.
agree. I agree.
Like, it
Yeah.
feels the best. Like, the amount of damage that you output versus how quickly the enemies go down feels right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Origins feels a little clunky, like just it feels a little old. It kind of reminds me of KOTOR. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Inquisition, I don't know how they fucked this up, but the combat feels terrible unless you're playing the Reaver type warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not fun to play. Like, every enemy takes forever to kill. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Something got weird in Inquisition. So
Yeah.
I really liked Dragon Age 2. I'm playing it a second time right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um which
Yeah.
I'll piggyback because the other game I
Mm-hmm.
played this year is actually Inquisition. I finally really gave it a playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Um because the way Gracie, my girlfriend, she loves this series, loves it more than any other. And the frustrating thing about Inquisition for me is that I love everything but the combat. Like, I love how the story plays. I love the interactions. I love exploring Skyhold and making decisions on the war table. I don't want to go fight. I don't want to go fight things. And the game just
Yeah.
wants you to go fight things. Like, I the way I described it to her once is like 50% of this game is my favorite game of all time. And 50% of this game just drives me up the wall. Uh,
Hmm.
but I played all the way through finally, and that's what convinced me to try 2, and I really liked 2. So,
Yeah. So on that, I will say Inquisition is my least favorite of the three.
interesting.
I put 30, 40 hours into Inquisition and I gave up because the combat is the worst.
I
It
know.
is the freaking worst. It's so uninteresting and
Mhm.
so clunky and just like it's trying to be a mixture of 1 and 2, but it doesn't
Yeah.
really set itself apart.
Yeah.
The
I
problem
w
like yeah,
Question, what did you play in Inquisition class-wise?
I played a warrior, a Canary warrior.
What type?
I
Did you
didn't
get
get
that
that
far?
far. I didn't get that
Okay,
far.
if you ever wanna give it another try, just push through until you can get the Reaver class,
Mhm.
specialization of warrior. There's the damage output gets high enough.
Yeah, no, it's I know it's insane because they had it in the original Dragon Age Origins, and it's a lot of fun. But for me, it was just the combat. Like the combat in Dragon Age 2 is fluid. It flows. You feel you get an adrenaline rush while playing it.
Right, and
Any
it's
class.
actually, yeah, and it's clear what's happening. That's the other thing
Yes.
about Inquisition is it's muddy. You can't
Yeah.
follow what's happening and what does what. Like, I've played it once as a 2 as a rogue, and that felt great. You like every like big sneak attack hit felt good. Like, it was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that person's dead now." Boom. Like, you could feel
Yeah.
like if I use this ability, the enemy's probably going to go down or maybe half health. And then now I'm playing a mage and I'm like, okay, I'm really clear on what I can do. And it's like, boom, this area of minions is clear. I'll go throw a big old fireball over there and I'll let my rogues and my warrior mop up the tougher people, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so much clearer. Like, it doesn't have something about Inquisition that is good is the sound effects are really great and well timed.
Hmm.
Um but if they like, and Dragon Age 2 doesn't quite have that, but that's more of like a limitation of the era and the technology, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But
So to that point, I think you should give Origins a try because Origins is sort of, in my opinion, like a lot of people hate Dragon Age 2 because you can't customize your character. You're stuck playing Hawk, which I
yeah,
think is its greatest strength. I like the fact that you play Hawk and you're in Hawk's world and it's a framed narrative and Hawk is flawed. Everybody else around, like you said, everyone else is flawed and messed up. And you're sort of it's like a nice middle ground between a AAA game and an indie game in
it
terms of the
really is.
experience. And Origins does where I think Inquisition fails the most which is in Origins, they create a really personal connection between you and the story as a character because it drops
Mm.
you into a world that goes on basically a 3-act structure, whereas Inquisition drops you in at the beginning of Act 2
Yeah,
of the
kind of.
3-act structure. And that's what I disliked the most overall about Inquisition is just I felt no attachment to save the world. Whereas Origins, you get to have the world and you get to watch it burn around you, and then you get to decide how you want or if you want to even save it. And I think that is it takes a long time. I put maybe 250 hours into that game when I first played it in high school.
Wow.
And the second time I played it, I put in maybe like 70 hours because I knew a lot about the game and I knew how to build a better character and on all that. But it's very much like KOTOR. It's very much like Baldur's Gate. Very much like Baldur's Gate.
Mm.
The devs consider it a spiritual successor. And I think if you play it with that mentality, it's a lot easier to get through than if you play it with the mentality of Dragon Age 2. Because Dragon Age 2 is so unique. There isn't quite a AAA game like it, in my opinion.
No, no, no. I think that's the thing that I really, yeah, I can't think of another game that does that quite
Yeah.
that. That takes like the AAA approach to like party members and NPCs,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't force you into such a big narrative.
Yeah, like Mass Effect kind of, but Mass Effect is more like Inquisition and Origins than it is Dragon Age 2.
Yeah, Dragon Age 2 is weird. And I
Yeah.
get why a lot of people don't like it. I really do. Because like every character is as hateable as lovable, and
Yes.
except I think Varric. I think Varric's the one exception.
Varric's
I think
great.
I think if you dislike Varric, you're kind of a bad person. I'm just it's a strong opinion, but it's my opinion. Um
I mean that chest hair though.
that chest hair though. No, I yeah. So kind of Dragon Age has been my jam.
That's
So
fantastic, man.
okay, so you got to give me your second though. We're not even there yet.
Yeah, yeah. So then all three of the games I've really liked this year all hinge on one key factor, and that's
Mm,
gameplay.
gotcha.
So Breath of the Wild is number one,
Yep.
number two, and number three. Because I'll give them to you right now.
Mm,
Or yeah, so number two is Jedi Fallen Order.
solid. I played that too.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily the biggest Dark Souls fan, but the gameplay in that game just encourages you to enjoy it. Like I almost 100%ed that game, and I never 100% games. Like I think when I beat Dragon Age Origins, I had 60% of the game complete,
Mm,
something ridiculous like that. And that was after like 250 hours of gameplay, like an insane amount of time. Um, Whereas like I put 50 hours into Jedi Fallen Order, and that was more bang for my buck than I expected to get out of it. And like it has the Dragon Age 2 weird bit about it where it's a narrative that you don't control, but you get to control how you play it. And I think that's sort of like what I've liked about Breath of the Wild as well, in that Link is going to fight Ganon. That's every Legend of Zelda game. But
hmm.
how Link fights Ganon and how Link goes about saving the world is completely up to you, the player.
Yeah.
And I really love that. And all of this to say, this is the third and final game that I've really enjoyed this year, and a game that I think you should play because it is out on Switch. I found out, um, Hades from Supergiant,
Yeah.
so good.
I've not played that yet. It's I'm gonna finish Dragon Age 2 again because
Hmm.
I'm right in the middle of it, and then Hades is kind of
Yeah,
next
it's
on the
on
list.
Switch, and apparently it's even better on Switch than it is on PC.
I believe it.
So,
Okay.
I believe it too. I'm probably gonna buy it on Switch after I beat Breath of the Wild, just cause.
Mm,
But all three of these games have really great gameplay and a story that while you can't control it, you can play it in a way that makes it feel unique to you. And that's something that I've come to really value in video games over the last 3 4 years, because while I love, all the dialogue tree options and all the romance options and all these other options and all these character customization bars I can slide around. What I really just want is a good time, and
Mm-hmm.
gameplay and mechanics and like level structure is so key to that. And all
Mm-hmm.
three of these games do it so well and encourage you to keep playing. And that's
Nice.
something that I feel like it's so hard to strike a balance with. It's like music or film, right? You have to strike a balance between the art you want to make, but the commercial value people probably will pay for. That's exactly what all these games are. It's the story that people want to feel involved in, but the gameplay people really will enjoy, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm at. I've been playing a lot of games that normally I would never play because they're too video gamey or too hard for a casual gamer like me. But all three of these games have such inviting um, gameplay mechanics that it's really hard to not keep playing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll sneak in. I've got to sneak in an honorable mention real
Okay,
quick. I
okay,
played
okay.
Streets of Rage 4 this
Streets
year.
of Rage 4. I've never heard of that.
So Streets of Rage is an old series at this point. I think going back to the early 80s, NES
Wow.
or SNES. Maybe it's late 80s. Anyways, uh it's old enough that the fact that it had a female playable character is historic. She's like one of the first.
Huh.
Um anyhow, it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up game, like straight up, no, not super complicated, like just like an arcade. It was like an arcade game, and it was really fun. Soundtrack's great, art is kick-ass. Uh, just over the top 80s. Like you showed me a movie once where somebody gets thrown back in time, and they're like, uh, and someone tells him it's the Viking Age, and he goes, explains the laser raptors or some bullshit.
Oh,
It's
Kung
exact.
Fury.
Yes, it is exactly that vibe. It's
Oh, that's great.
like all of your like two of the playable characters are like kung fu masters with magic, and one of them has big robot arms, and another one, she has magic through her like electric guitar that she beats the shit out of people with. And you're fighting robots and ninjas, and like it's dumb. It's so dumb and good. Like very fun. Everyone should just go play it. It's like $20. Um, but the real game this year, the like best game I played this year still is Fire Emblem Three Houses,
Mm,
which is what I'm also going to recommend you go play. It's on the Switch exclusive.
right.
Um, and it's basically, I saw it described once as Game of Thrones meets Harry Potter, and that's pretty accurate. Uh, Basic premise is you get roped into being a teacher for a bunch of essentially nobles and high rank and the children of high ranking military officials
Hmm.
from three great nations about 5 years before a big old war is about to happen. Um, and you get to lead a house. You get to lead the Gryffindor equivalent. And like you're talking about with like a lot of choices, there are a number of choices. There are four main paths the whole game can go down, with drastically different endings, genuinely. Um, and also different truths. Like if you play uh certain pathways, like certain characters have slightly different pasts. Like that's how much it changes. But once you've kind of locked in, it's the same. It's you have a story. Like there are very minor choices you can make. Like you can make some choices about who you romance, and you can make some choices about who fights and whatnot, and like what the classes they take. Uh, but the main strokes of the story are the same. And there's two things about it that I think you'd really like. One, it's mechanically speaking, it's not quite as inviting as I think you're feeling right now, but it is kind of in a sense kind of classic D&D. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have your characters and they deal damage on their turn and you move them around tactically. It's a tactics game. Like it's one half a tactics game during battle and the rest of the time it's you're talking to people. Like kind of like Dragon Age in that sense. Or
Mm-hmm.
uh but the other thing I will say is I've played it 4 times. And each time was awesome and different. There's still an ending I haven't done, but there is a mode in Fire Emblem where if a character goes down, they die permanently.
Mm-hmm.
And like the character is gone. Like just gone. Um and it lends this amazing tension to the fights. Um like I managed to get through when I finally played that way. I ended up losing 2 characters in the very final battle. And it was heartbreaking because you get a time like your character gets like an actual in the story time reversal mechanic, so you can, if someone dies, you can take back a couple turns and like try again, um if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
uh but I got to the end of the fight and I was like, I'm out of time. Like I don't have any more of my time
Oh.
turning back, and I've been sunk into this battle for the last 2 hours. um and I legitimately cannot game out in my head how I get to the end of this fight, how I defeat, like, because like it puts you at a slight disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And the game works best if you can like sacrifice a piece here or there, kind of like chess. Like it's like, no,
Yeah.
you're not gonna make it through the whole game with all your pieces, except the game's like, but what if you cared about your pieces? um, um,
Dude, narratively, that is so good.
yeah, so like I lost uh a character who's, I don't like him, but he's kind of like a Severus Snape, where it's like I kind of see it, and you're an interesting character. I lost him because I needed him to cover. I needed him to take down an enemy and cover for someone else,
Mm.
and then uh, I needed someone to literally stand in a on like a particular tile and block the enemies from following my other soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
because and I needed them to just hold out for a while, and then they fell, and I just needed them to like make a heroic stand so everybody else could go face the final enemy. Um and
Damn.
I'd spent 80 hours with these characters, and like you were their teacher and you know their struggles and the things that make them nervous and scared, and then you send them to die. It's this horrifying and very interesting and beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just from how you described that, I think once you get past the prologue and I guess Act 1 of Dragon Age Origins, I think you'll really enjoy it. Because there's a
All right.
lot of similar elements in from what you just described in Dragon Age Origins that make Origins ultimately the standout game in terms of story of the
Okay.
trilogy.
I'll give that. I'll put it on my list. I'll put it on the
Yeah.
list after I've okay, so right now my list is Hades,
Mm-hmm.
Spiritfarer, Kentucky Route Zero,
Mm,
Dragon Age Origins.
nice. Mine is I need to finish Hades, but right now I'm stuck in well, I'm not stuck. I'm actively exploring and enjoying Breath of the Wild. Um and then after that, I after that, I haven't even thought about what's after Breath of the Wild because I'm fully prepared to put like 300 hours into this game.
Fair. You may
uh,
just need to live. You may need to live in Hyrule for a little bit, and there's no shame.
yeah, honestly, I've never. This game checks all my boxes with an open world game. I can do the story however I please, and I have no complaints about the game.
Two things about this. One is a very little thing, and one is something that I adore about that. So something that often throws me about open world games like that is like they often introduce like a world ending threat. Like take Skyrim for example. Uh, there's like a world-ending dragon, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, I can just go be an assassin. It's very weird, right?
Yeah.
One thing I adore about Breath of the Wild is basically they're just like, hey, you're not ready. So everything is training. Everything. Right? Like, yeah, maybe you're out collecting berries and whatnot and learning how to cook, but that's also how you're going to have the best healing items for when you face Ganon. Yeah, you're exploring these little nooks and crannies, but that's where the shrines are, so you can have enough hearts to get the Master Sword to go fight Ganon. Right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everything actually secretly is still building to Ganon. Right? Because like these little like you're doing these like little side puzzles and getting Kokoroke seeds and well, that's so you can carry more items and more weapons and such to go fight Ganon. Like everything builds on itself, right? And I think that's really beautiful game design,
Yeah.
honestly. Second thing, have you seen any of the dragons yet?
Yes, I saw the one the lightning one, and then I freed the frost one.
Nice.
And that
Very
was
nice.
that was such a wholesome experience because you see the dragon take off and then you realize, oh shit, I have to go chase it. Like
Yeah.
I'm in a boss, like you don't realize you're in an event right now and you're like, oh crap. So you like run and you jump off the cliff and start gliding, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, this is going to kill me. So I need to like make sure I make every arrow shot count.
Yep. Because
And
it's like, hey, guess what? You're playing Shadow of the Colossus now.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just so it was so rewarding to save Farash, I think it is.
I can't
Um
remember.
yeah, it was so rewarding to do that, and like gliding and using updraft to fly above it so you can shoot the taint off of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's so cinematic. And
It's also beautiful that you can stumble into it.
yeah, no, I literally was trying to solve a puzzle with like the three trees above Village, and I was like, "Oh, that looks weird. It looks like there's a shrine up there, but it's like infected. Let me go check it out."
Yep.
And I like used all of my resources getting to the freaking top of that mountain, only to be like, "Oh shit, I'm screwed. I'm going to die. There is a infected dragon up here."
Yeah.
Only to like somehow get through it. And now I'm like, well, that was fun. That was so like rewarding in terms of the story.
Mm-hmm. Have you found any of the whale skeletons yet?
I think I saw one from a distance, but I didn't glide down to go see it yet.
You should check those out.
Cool. Good to know. Good to know. I I'm currently on a quest to recover all of my memories. I think I have like
Oh,
5 or 6 left.
that is my favorite part of the whole game.
Honestly, it is so cool how you can discover something at the very end of your memory line or something at the very beginning, and you sort of get to see this relationship with Princess Zelda build and the relationship with the other characters build.
Oh, it's so good.
And
It's
it's
so
just
damn good.
like it's so interesting because you as Link don't feel anything because you don't know these people. Your memory's been wiped. But through these flashbacks, you're like, oh, maybe I do care. Maybe I do remember that. And like you as a
Mm-hmm.
player begin to act like Link, and that's such good storytelling.
Yeah,
Uh,
so is.
well, I think we're about at it for this week.
I think that's true.
This was a good one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Started in a real low place, but we ended on a real high note. So
Yeah, yeah. I was close to crying at the beginning, and I'm smiling now.
I'm glad. I'm glad that we could both be smiling and just chatting about video games. I'm
Yeah.
excited to. I'm probably actually going to hop back into Breath of the Wild after this. Uh, dude, being able to play on the go and in front of a TV, so good.
I love the Switch so much. I love that system so fucking much.
Yeah, I'm so glad I went all out and got a full on Switch,
Worth it.
not just the Switch Lite. It has been the best splurge I've had in a very long time.
Totally worth it. Mm.
Well, and with that, that's it for this week, everybody. You can see what movies I'm watching on Letterboxd at Derek Aiello. That's DEREKAIELLO. And conveniently, I'm also at Benig-Aiello everywhere else. Dane, where can we find you hanging on the internet these days?
You can find me on Twitter at Dane_Fogdall. That's Dane_FOGDALL. And you can listen to my show Diceology, like the science of dice, on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify.
And yeah, we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you later.
Bye bye.